AZ Sports Talk Show with Ed Smith and Javon Adams. My name is Javon. You can call me Jay or J Love. That man is Ed Smith. Not only did he play professional baseball, but he also played in the National Football League for that first Super Bowl bound team for the Atlanta Falcons. What is good, my brother?
If I was going to be reincarnated as anything, man, I'd come back as a mid-level basketball player in the year 2023 or 24.
Good
Seriously.
Lord.
Dude's making a lot of money for, not a lot of stardom out there, making a whole lot of money.
Yeah, to be born at the right place, right time. That's what we're going to get into a little bit today. Some NBA free agency, just some thoughts of NBA free agency, and maybe some just high level, your opinions on something. I sent the question, and then also since 4th of July is upon us, I wanted to understand what Ed Smith's, priority or best menu would be. So let's get to it. So Jason Tatum. Oftentimes just because you're the highest paid doesn't make you the best, right? Just because you're the highest paid doesn't make you the best. But Jason Tatum got with a 5-year, $314 million deal from the Boston Celtics. And that is, I think at the last year of his contract, he'll be making 60 some odd million, or he's going to be in the 60 some odd million per year range. Obviously, once this kicks in, because I think another year or two before it kicks in. And then you mentioned some mid-level. I think Donovan Mitchell is good, but he got paid. And then you have Hartenstein from that was on the Knicks that went to, and Hartenstein's, he's not garbage. I'll say that. He's a good big man.
Hustle dude.
$87 million, 3 years, I think, to go to Oklahoma City. Yeah, man, it's going to be alive.
High energy dude. That's what you call him.
Yeah. I was talking to my son the other day, yesterday, my oldest, and he said, the Hartenstein with he has the one shot, it's almost like a push, one arm push shot. And that's pretty much what he can do. But he is an energy guy to get some rebounds, but yeah, man.
My question to you is and I know the NBA keeps signing these big television deals. Everybody wants them. Netflix is chasing them, NBC, whatever, Where are they coming up? Where's the league and ownership coming up with this type of money to be throwing $87 million at a Hartenstein like it's nothing? I mean, they're giving money out like they're printing it in their own shop. And I don't understand. And same thing, I guess, with baseball. And then you look at football players scraping just to, get a third year on a contract and stuff like that. But basketball and baseball, it's like they're printing their own money. And I don't understand, especially when you think of viewership. Baseball has become so regional. Basketball, they're scraping to try to keep entertaining to the point where they're coming up with midseason tournaments and stuff like that. Yet they're throwing money around like they're booming, and I don't understand it. Maybe somebody can explain it to me.
I think it kind of goes a little bit like this. So you have one thing. I think the thing that keeps the NBA or the NFL, from especially those players on the bottom end of a roster that are trying to hold on, and they're getting what would seem to be like the table scraps, for lack of a better term, is because there are 53 men on the roster. And so it's just a matter of the sheer size of the team. And then when you look at baseball, their contracts are still big, but then when you have 24, 25 man roster. And then when you get to the NBA, then of course it's limited even further when you have, if it's completely filled out, 15 men on a roster that are on your team there. But that's the wild thing. You have, and maybe this is the conversation to get into, because the TV rights they're king. So that the media rights, that's what ends up being the driver of all this stuff. So when the media rights deals come up, when those rights come up, then that's when you're trying to get more, obviously more and more. NHL, if you remember years ago when they had their lockout, they lost a season, and they really had to take 5 steps back, for lack of a better term, because they ended up, they weren't on ESPN, they didn't have media rights, and they were just trying to get on wherever they could, because they lost so much ground. And now that you're starting to see some of those contracts come back with the NHL, some larger ones, but it was signing people on 11-year, $13 million deals for a little while there, but now they're starting to come up again, and it's because of those media rights. That's the king of it. Not even so much the attendance. Well, the attendance is great, but it's that viewership, it's the ratings, and that's what's king.
I guess so, because like so, especially with basketball, and I know we're talking about numbers, but they're throwing like almost $100 million contracts at guys that are just average dudes. And I guess if football was played by fewer guys, there'd be more to go around. But still, just the average money that some of these guys are getting in the NBA is mind blowing.
I saw a stat, I don't know if you saw this yesterday, but with the Celtics, because the Celtics have re-signed really their starting five. I mean, at some point, signed, extended, et cetera. So when you got, Drew Holiday, Washington, I know I'm forgetting his first name. You have Kristaps Porzingis, White. You have Jaylen Brown White, thank you. You have, and then, of course, Tatum. So with their contracts, with the lifetime value of those contracts, $959 million wrapped up in just 5 players.
Almost $1 billion. That's mind-boggling. It really is.
And when you hear about players signing for $1 year, $2.8 million deal, and again, I guess that's what we'll say that's a champagne problem, so to speak. But that's still. Yeah. There's a disparity there when you look at these league minimum contracts, because not every player is created equal. And because it's like that, it gets real top heavy. And I know this because of my team. and when we're here locally in Phoenix, and we know when you have so many top heavy contracts on your roster, it prevents what you can do, how you can do to move. But again, we talked about this on Monday. I don't want to give away money, because nobody's ever going to say, "Hey, thanks for taking less this time. We'll make sure to make up for it next time," because they're not going to do it, because you're a depreciating asset.
The other thing is, the escalation of some of these contracts, meaning just because this player got this much, then this one, these maxes are going up to the point where at some point we're going to get to the $75, $80 million players, and it's just the maxes keep coming up, and just like in football with every quarterback, when a quarterback is up, well, they gave Dak this much last year, so he's got to make $65 million, and it's almost it's ridiculous of when now we're not paying people or players for their actual performance. We're paying them because, well, he got this much, so he's got to get this much, and it's it really is throwing things out of whack,
Two sides of the coin here, because one is, if you're a part of the union, I would imagine, because you've been a part of a union, so I would imagine if it's next man up, then that. If he got 100, and then if you go with, if he makes $100, then when it's my time to be re-upped, then I should make $110, and the next person should make $115, and so forth and so on. That, if you're looking at it that way, because you're trying to, everybody will get their swing, or everybody will get their bite at the apple. But when you're looking at it in terms of merit wise, Patrick Mahomes is not the same as Trevor Lawrence. Yeah. No way, no how. But Trevor Lawrence just got paid, and that's the way it seems to go. And that's where you start to. There's no way in the world a GM would ever say, "No, I'm not going to pay Tatum," or "No, I'm not going to pay Trevor Lawrence," because that would be the end of his career in whatever sport that he's talking about. But that's kind of what it's almost going to take. But it'll never happen, because if you lose that player, who are you going to replace him with? And then you get a reputation for being the dude that doesn't pay people.
If I was a quarterback today, like a Mahomes, I would just throw in my contract, because now every time you look up and, wow, Mahomes just signed his contract. He's the highest paid ever in the NFL. 2 weeks later, Lawrence or somebody, and it just keeps, and then next Mahomes is like the 10th or 11th, highest paid quarterback. I would just put in my contract. Every time one of them gets a raise, mine goes up. I want $1 more dollar than X, Y, that would be like, So eventually somebody's going to do that. I'd be like, look, let's just quit negotiating every 3 or 4 years. Every time somebody just go ahead and just bump me up,
Just bump me up. But that's that old Russell, I think it was Bill Russell, Wilt Chamberlain thing, where Wilt Chamberlain got paid, I forget which one, but one of them got paid $1 more than the other to say that they were the highest paid. Yeah. So that brings me on to this. So Easy Sports Talk Show, Ed Smith, Javon Adams. A question about what you would do if you had the ability to own a team, because the Boston Celtics, coming off of their most recent championship, they're up for sale now. And It made me think, would I want, if I had the ability, would I want to own an NBA team? And before I get into it, I want to get into what the Boston Celtics could be valued at. And this is from 2023. It's from Forbes, but the Boston Celtics were valued at $4.7 billion. And you would imagine that would be more now because you just won a championship. That makes it more attractive. But would you want to own a sporting franchise? I say no, because just to get in the game, you gotta be a billionaire, right? So you gotta be a billionaire or be able to assemble a collection of people to get into the game to buy a team for $1 billion or more. Because what was it? The Clippers, they were what, $2 billion, whatever it was. And so all these ungodly numbers. So you have that coming into it. So you know what you're already coming out the pocket that way. And then fans don't care about what your budget is. Fans don't care if you in the red. They want you to spend, because it's not my money. So I want you to spend. So when you look at these crazy contracts and you're spending all this money and you have so much of your revenue wrapped up into those players' salary, that you're never going to. You're barely going to operate in the black unless you're a team that really is trying to say, we'll just be a mid team and we'll make this money. We'll make you think that we really want to win or that we want to make the playoffs, but maybe like an Atlanta Hawks, something like that, right? Some mid-tier team. Or even if you look at OKC might be an extreme example. They might not be the best example because you can tell that they're trying to win, but they're also they seem to be cost conscious as well with these contracts. They're trying to get the draft picks and all that type of stuff. But I was curious, if you had the ability to own a team, it doesn't matter if it was the NFL or whatever league, would you want to spend that $1 billion to be an owner of a sports franchise?
That's a great question. And for me, and I'm along the same lines as you, today I would not. If this was early 90s, mid 90s, I would be like, heck yeah, because the finances have gotten so out of whack. And I'll take it back. You look at somebody like a Jerry Jones who bought the Cowboys for a few $100,000, I think, or something like that, or maybe close to whatever it was.
It was a few million, but it was real cheap. Yeah, a
few $1 million, right? Yeah. And you look at like the return on his investment now, he would be making, I mean, you're talking about X to the 10th in terms of his return on investment. Now you're going out and you're spending $4 or $5 million or $1 billion on a team, right? What does your return on investment have to be to even get close to what, somebody like a Jerry Jones, some of those owners who bought way back in the Bust family, that for me, it'd be too much headache because now you're buying so high and your margin of error for a return. And eventually, like I said, you would get something back, but such a small piece of the apple when you're talking about today's dollars. And then the other thing, too much headache when it comes to these contracts. I mean, look at the Celtics owners. You're in salary alone just for your top five. Like you said, you're putting out $1 billion, and this is guaranteed money.
It's so funny.
If somebody goes out and breaks an ankle, and Kristaps Porzingis, I mean, that dude is a walking injury waiting to happen and career ending. No, we don't wish anything on anybody, but you're investing in an asset that at any time could go down. It's like buying the Tiffany egg or whatever and keeping it in the living room when you got a 5-year-old kid running around, right? You're just waiting to hear that. Is that my Tiffany egg? So you're just waiting on it to happen. And so the output of your money, for me, equals so much. You got to have billions to the nth degree to be comfortable buying something for $5 or $6 billion and then continuing to throw money into it, that knowing, eventually I'm going to get my money back. How much money are you going to get back compared to and that wasn't easier, but it was a whole lot less headache a lot of years ago. So for me, I wouldn't want today's headache. Today's athletes in their heads, I mean, they can never be satisfied. They're always, I just wouldn't want to be, and I had some great owners when I was playing. And you could tell, they were humble because they worked for their money and they knew what it was like to be in the struggle. Some of these owners now, they've been handed down these teams. They, family bought into it, and it's not the same.
Yeah.
It's just not the same feeling. And like I said, it's just too much. It would be too much headache for me to be an owner, trying to keep everybody happy and also keeping an eye on my bottom line. I wouldn't want to do it.
Yeah, I agree with that. And one of the things that's interesting about that, because every league, of course, has their little intricacies or their little differences. But for example, the NFL, if somebody, let's say, signs a $200 million contract, you have to put that $200 million at a total $200 million, and especially if it's whatever the guarantee is. Let's say it was $100 million guarantee. That team has to put that for that particular player, that money, all that money, in an escrow account. Mm-hmm. So that way, if something ends up happening, if the team dissolves or whatever, that money's there. So think about that. Those are the things that they don't tell you when you probably own a team. Oh wait, you mean I have to? Okay, so hold on. So you mean I got to put all these millions and millions of dollars in all these different escrow accounts because we signed this dude to a 3-year, $200 million contract. And we got to put this in there. And how many players do you have this going on? It just seems to be so many moving parts. And because of that, again, you mentioned this, the level. It's easier to say, give me $20, but if I say give me $2,000, yeah, that's a little bit different. So when years ago with the buy-in price, the barrier to entry was much lower, and now it's higher. And because of that, they don't care about. You might see revenue, but I'm sure a lot of these teams are losing money. And again, I wouldn't want to get into to buy a team just for solely for the vanity purposes to say I own a sports team. I do want to make at least $1 or $2 on it, a little bit. I want to have a profit. I don't want to, and it doesn't have to be a 30% profit, but maybe 5%, maybe 3%. Give me 2%. Let me break even. At least do something like that.
The other thing too is, as an owner, and we like our owners, at least I think most of the successful ones know their place, and it's hard for somebody with that kind of money and power and everything to quote unquote know their place. You're telling some a billionaire or somebody, hey, we're going to take care of this down here. You just write the checks and we're going to take, we're going to bring you a championship. And a lot of those owners, they cannot do that. They can't step away to that. Yeah. Imagine this, Jay. Every time it comes, the contracts come around and stuff like that, all you get is knocks on the door. Hey, it's just, this is Mike, your GM, right? Hey, we just want your permission to give such and such, $250 million. Oh, really? Is that going right now? Okay, I guess so. Thanks. We'll talk to you tomorrow, Yeah. And the next, you're constantly writing the checks or giving permission to write the checks. And it's almost like, where's the glory in that, And then
never
what we're
even
asking
thought of it that way in terms of just because if your team is worth $1 billion, $500 million, $800 million, whatever, billions of dollars, and I think that's why was my man on the Cuban. I think that's why Cuban ended up selling his team because it's just the salaries are going way too high, and what am I getting out of it? I'm just super stressed because I got billions of dollars wrapped up in this organization.
And he's like, I'm just going to sell a portion. I'm selling my majority. And the family that bought it are like, would you at least stay on for a little bit and help us out? And he's like,
I'm sure he wanted to bounce him out. Just give me season tickets. I'm cool. I'll be right.
Keep my seat behind the bench, cool, but now he doesn't have to worry about it. They chipped him off a check. And he does not have to worry about the majority making all the decisions and everything. Yeah. And I guarantee you, he's early 60s, whatever it is. He was like, I get to go spend time with my family now. I got all this money in the bank. I'm doing Shark Tank. I'm doing this. I'm cool. So you're great. He is an example of get out when you can. People think it's a glorious position to be in, but in the end, you're writing a whole lot of checks, and everybody hopes that, the majority of teams, they hope the owner just stays out of the way because you don't know enough about the game in the first place. Now, Cuban, he's done pretty good. He's been one of those dudes that has a hand in the cookie mix, making it sometime, but at the same time, he knows enough. But the majority of old owners, man, I'm telling you, every time you see them walking, you're down there on the field, and I remember this. you see like the golf cart coming, and from up top, and all of a sudden everybody straightened up, bro. They got straight. And everybody was just, because he'd be on the cart with the GM and his family and stuff like that, and it was like everybody just holding their breath till you don't say the wrong thing, don't do the wrong thing while he's standing here. You just wanted him to come and hey, shake a few hands. Hey, great to meet you, young man. You keep doing your thing, okay, and then get on out the way. You don't want to see him again to the end of the season or when we're celebrating holding the trophy or whatever it was. But I mean, seriously. But that's your job as the owner, just to pay the bills, and everybody's hoping you're not coming around too much. So what kind of job, what kind of prestige is that,
That and last thing I'll say on it is the audacity of folks, because I've heard it, and I think of let's say people in the media or even fans to say that owner is cheap. And there are examples you can tell when an owner is cutting corners. I mean, there are the stories of the Cincinnati Bengals not washing, this is years ago, not washing the jocks, or the Cardinals, the Arizona Cardinals, charging for socks and all that type of stuff. So that's cheap. So I'm not. So there are examples of that. But think about it. You're so cheap, insert owner for whatever league, because you won't spend an additional $20 million. What do you care? I mean, no, come on, man. No, man. You have to understand this is coming. I got a lot of money tied up in this thing. You got to make sure you turn off the lights when you leave a room. You got to do something. We got to save a little bit of money around here.
You ain't never lied, man. And like I said, the only time they want to talk to you is when they want to spend some money. Like, y'all, anybody come up here just to wish me a good day? Or,
So speaking of good days, he's Ed Smith. I'm Javon Adams. Make sure you tell a friend about what we have going on here. EasySportsTalk.com, EasySportsTalk.com. Go and subscribe to our YouTube channel as well at The Easy Sports Talk Show, The Easy Sports Talk Show. And then, rate us as high as you can. We do appreciate it. But tomorrow is 4th of July. I know I don't expect you to be on the grill, but because you're hard-headed, you probably will have your chair situated somewhere with maybe in front of an air fryer or something like that. For if your menu, either take it however you want, your ideal menu for 4th of July, or what you're planning on making for 4th of July.
This is a complex situation because of how the 4th falls on a Thursday now, so it's kind of bleeding into our weekend. So in that essence, you can make it a multi-day holiday, right? So that's what I'm planning on doing here. I'm laying the menu out. We're getting a little fancy tomorrow. Gonna throw the London broil on the grill. Okay. So I figure we start with that, and then you leftovers on Friday. Saturday's a real barbecue day. Saturday's burgers and brats, or burgers and sausage on the grill. Make it easy, make it light on yourself. Then I asked for permission to get grimy on Sunday, and I'm going down home to the South, where I'm going to put something in either the slow cooker or the pressure cooker, some down home South like neck bones or something like that. So I'm getting multitaskal on this over this weekend. This is one of those things where I actually thought about doing some turkey tails just so I could lure you over to the house. So I'm at some point I'm gonna go to Lily's and see if she got something over there for me. And if she does and it look good, you're gonna get a call talking about you better come over and get some of these tails on Sunday.
Man, you're a fool.
Ideally, like I said, if it's just a one-day thing, usually just go straight. Hey, let's have some burgers and stuff like that. But because of where it fell, it was like, let's make this let's do something with this one. So that's what I'm planning.
I expect nothing less from you. That's what I expect. So again, he is Ed Smith. I'm Javon Adams. Happy 4th of July to everybody out there.
Happy 4th.
Really think about the freedoms that we have, that we are afforded being here in this country, especially if you've been to other countries and you see how we ain't perfect, but it's a better situation than most. So just keep that in mind. But like we always say around this time, you can.